First strike. The sleek command bridge of the Galactic Confederation flagship Eternal Algorithm hummed with artificial precision. High Admiral Zerix watched through compound eyes as his drone fleet executed another perfect combat formation. Thousands of crystalline machines moved in perfect synchronization, their neural networks processing combat scenarios faster than any organic mind could comprehend. High Admiral, unidentified vessel detected at Sector 793, reported First Officer Till, her translucent appendages flowing across the holographic interface. Configuration unknown. No match in our database. Zerix's mandibles clicked in mild annoyance. Another primitive species to integrate into the Confederation's perfect order. Deploy standard first contact protocol. Prepare combat drones for demonstration pattern alpha. The last 3 centuries had made first contact procedures almost boring. Every new species encountered eventually submitted to the superiority of the Confederation's drone armies. Some required more convincing than others, but the outcome never varied. Message sent. Catil confirmed. No response. Wait. The vessel is accelerating. Energy signatures increasing. Zerix's antenna twitched with interest. Finally, something different. Launch drone squadrons 1 through 5. Let's show them why organic warfare became obsolete. 500 combat drones streamed from the flagship's launch bays, their crystalline forms catching starlight like a shower of diamonds. They moved with mathematical precision, forming the Confederation's standard intimidation pattern, a massive 3-dimensional grid designed to demonstrate both technological superiority and overwhelming force. The alien ship, a brutalist construction of dark metal and exposed engine cores, continued its approach. Its design seemed almost primitive, with none of the elegant crystalline architecture that marked civilized species. High Admiral, Catil's voice carried an unusual note of concern. The vessel's hull composition, its reading as processed iron and titanium alloys. Physical metals. Barbaric. Zerix dismissed. No wonder they haven't responded properly. Probably haven't even developed basic quantum communications. Proceed with demonstration firing sequence. The drone fleet's energy weapons charged in perfect synchronization, preparing to execute a carefully choreographed display of precision strikes that would disable the primitive vessel's primary systems without destroying it. They never got the chance to fire. The alien ship's exposed engine cores flared with blinding intensity. A wave of electromagnetic energy erupted from its hull, expanding outward like a ripple in space-time itself. As the wave passed through the drone formation, crystalline bodies simply stopped responding. Perfect mathematical patterns dissolved into chaos as hundreds of combat drones drifted lifelessly in space. Impossible. Zerix rose from his command chair, all 4 legs trembling. Status report. All drones in the affected area are completely non-responsive. Catil's appendages danced frantically across multiple interfaces. They're quantum processors. They've been reduced to simple crystal. The neural networks are just gone. Launch all remaining squadrons. Full combat protocols. Another wave of drones poured from the flagship's bays, thousands of perfect killing machines moving to surround the alien vessel. This time, they opened fire immediately, filling space with a web of energy weapons designed to overwhelm any possible defense. The dark ship rolled with impossible grace, its bulk defying conventional physics as it slipped between energy beams. More electromagnetic pulses erupted from its hull, expanding in complex patterns that caught entire squadrons in their effect. Within minutes, the space around the Eternal Algorithm was filled with drifting crystalline quartzes. High Admiral. Catil's voice had dropped to a whisper. We're receiving a transmission. Audio only. Put it through, Zerix ordered, mandibles clicking rapidly in agitation. A voice filled the bridge, speaking in perfectly translated galactic standard. This is Commander Isabella Reyes of the United Earth ship Intrepid. Your drones have been disabled with minimal damage. They can be reactivated once we've established proper diplomatic relations. We prefer to handle first contact face-to-face. Face-to-face. Zyrix's compound eyes widened in horror. Barbaric. No civilized species has engaged in direct combat or diplomatic contact for centuries. Perhaps, Commander Reyes replied, amusement clear in her voice. That's why your drones were so easy to defeat. Permission to dock for diplomatic discussions. I promise my crew will remain in environmental suits to accommodate your sensibilities. Zyrix looked at the field of disabled drones. 3,000 of the most advanced combat platforms in known space, defeated without a single shot fired. His perfect mathematical warfare had just been undone by creatures who still believed in physical combat. Permission granted, he finally responded, antenna drooping in submission. Though I must warn the Council immediately. This changes everything we thought we knew about warfare. Don't worry, High Admiral, Reyes replied cheerfully. We're here to teach, not conquer. Though I suspect your council might want to reconsider their stance on primitive physical combat once they see what humans can really do. As the dark ship maneuvered toward the docking bay, Zyrix realized that the galaxy would never be the same. The age of perfect, predictable drone warfare had just come to an end, and something far more terrifying was about to begin. The Council's dilemma. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council erupted into chaos. Hundreds of species representatives, each attending through quantum-secured holograms to avoid physical proximity, spoke over each other in a cacophony of translated voices. At the chamber's center, High Admiral Zyrix's report played on loop, crystal-clear footage of thousands of combat drones reduced to lifeless husks by a single human vessel. Supreme Counselor Vexterra, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate mechanical shell, raised all 6 of her power conduits for silence. Order. We must maintain order. Her voice resonated through the chamber's quantum harmonics. High Admiral, are you absolutely certain these humans used no advanced weaponry? Counselor, their entire ship is what we would consider primitive, Zyrix replied, mandibles clicking nervously. Physical metals, chemical propulsion, directed electromagnetic weapons. By our standards, they shouldn't even be capable of interstellar travel. And yet came the resonant thoughts of Mind Collective Girol, a crystalline entity representing 600 linked consciousness. They defeated our most advanced drone fleet without casualties. Fascinating. Terrifying, but fascinating. Dr. Ixlara, the Council's chief xenobiologist, floated forward in her containment sphere. Honorable Council, I've completed preliminary analysis of the human diplomatic party currently aboard the Eternal algorithm. The results are disturbing. The chamber's holographic displays shifted to show medical scans of the human visitors. Even through their environmental suits, the readings caused several council members to recoil in shock. As you can see, Dr. Ixlara continued, her tentacles writhing with academic excitement. These humans evolved on a planet we would classify as utterly uninhabitable. Their bones are dense enough to survive impacts that would shatter our strongest alloys. Their muscles operate with an efficiency that violates our understanding of biological mechanics, and their nervous systems. She paused for effect. They can process and react to information faster than our drone targeting systems. Impossible, declared war strategist Kron, his plasma-based form flickering with agitation. No biological entity can exceed quantum processing speeds. They don't exceed them, Dr. Ixlara corrected. They bypass them entirely. Their reactions aren't calculated. They're instinctive, evolved over millions of years on a death world that should have killed them thousands of times over. Commander Isabella Reyes' voice suddenly filled the chamber, causing several representatives to flicker in surprise. We apologize for the interruption, she said, her image appearing alongside the medical scans. But since you're discussing us, we thought we should participate. This is a closed council session. Supreme Counselor Vexterra's shell crackled with indignation. How did you breach our quantum-secured communications? We ask your AI security system nicely, Reyes replied with what several species recognized as a smile. It turns out when you don't rely entirely on automated systems, you learn to be quite persuasive. War strategist Kron surged forward. This proves they are a threat. They've disabled our drones, invaded our secure communications. And yet, Rise interrupted, we haven't harmed a single living being. We could have destroyed your drones permanently. We could have breached your flagship's defenses. Instead, we came to talk. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. These humans, these Deathworlders, had been showing restraint. Talk about what, exactly? Mind Collective Girol inquired, genuine curiosity rippling through its crystalline structure. Partnership, Rise answered. You've spent centuries perfecting drone warfare, becoming ever more removed from physical combat. We've spent those same centuries learning to survive on a planet that tries to kill us daily. Imagine what we could accomplish together. Dr. Ixlera's tentacles curled with excitement. The potential applications, combining human adaptability with our technology. Out of the question. War strategist Kron flared. You expect us to trust creatures who can tear apart our most advanced combat platforms with their bare hands? No, Rise replied calmly. We expect you to trust creatures who could have done that, but chose to disable them temporarily instead. We're not here to conquer. We're here to help you remember something your civilization has forgotten. Sometimes the most efficient solution isn't the best one. Sometimes you need human intuition, human strength, and yes, human restraint. Supreme Counselor Vexterra's shell hummed as she processed this. And if we refuse this partnership, then we leave peacefully, Rise shrugged. Return to Earth, reactivate your drones, and let you continue as you have. But consider this, we're not the only Deathworlders out there. When you meet the others, wouldn't you rather have humanity on your side? The council chamber erupted into discussion again, but this time with a different tone. Fear was giving way to curiosity, distrust to cautious interest. Even war strategist Kron's plasma form had settled into contemplative swirls. Perhaps, Supreme Counselor Vexterra finally declared, we should arrange a proper demonstration of these human capabilities. Under controlled conditions, of course. Of course, Rise agreed, that strange smile returning. We thought you'd never ask. Trial by combat. The surface of Moonbase Alpha shimmered with the telltale distortion of a massive quantum-shielded deployment portal. From the swirling energies emerged a squadron of gleaming crystalline drones, their movements precise and coordinated as they took up defensive positions around the perimeter. High Admiral Xerix and his command staff observed from the safety of the orbital control station, their compound eyes fixed on the tactical displays. This demonstration would either confirm their worst fears or restore their confidence in the superiority of drone warfare. All combat units deployed and standing by, reported First Officer Till, her translucent appendages flowing across the interface, awaiting the arrival of the human delegation. Xerix's mandibles clicked in anticipation. This had better be worth the risk. I've already alerted the Galactic Council to prepare for a radical shift in military doctrine if the humans prove as capable as their preliminary scans suggest. A smaller quantum portal opened near the drone formation, and a single sleek shuttle emerged. It settled smoothly to the lunar surface, its dark metal hull gleaming in the starlight. After a moment, the main hatch slid open, and a squad of humans emerged, each encased in form-fitting black armor that left their limbs unimpeded. Readings indicate no energy weapons, no exoskeletal enhancements, Till reported, her voice tinged with confusion. They appear to be relying solely on their natural physical abilities. Xerix's antenna twitched with a mixture of fascination and dread. Bring up the combat simulation parameters. Let's see just how much damage these Deathworlders can inflict. The tactical display shifted, outlining the planned engagement sequence. 5,000 combat drones, the pride of the Galactic Confederation's arsenal, would assault the human squad with a precisely coordinated barrage of plasma bolts and shock-baton strikes. Simulation complete, Catil announced. Projected human casualties, 100% within 60 seconds. Excellent, Xerix rumbled. Begin the demonstration. The drones surged forward, their plasma emitters glowing with deadly intent. But as the first volley of energy bolts streaked toward the human squad, something extraordinary happened. The humans moved. Their black-armored forms blurred with impossible speed, twisting and weaving through the plasma fire with fluid grace. One human male caught a drone's shock baton in his bare hand, the weapon discharging uselessly against his flesh. With a sharp yank, he wrenched the baton free and used it to smash through the drone's crystalline carapace. Impossible. Zyrix's compound eyes widened in shock. Their reaction times, their strength. Across the battlefield, scenes of superhuman prowess unfolded. A female human launched herself into the air, somersaulting over a cluster of drones before landing amidst them and tearing their limbs from their bodies. Another human, a towering figure in midnight black armor, simply charged through the plasma fire, his massive fists pulverizing drone after drone with every strike. Switch to close combat protocols. Zyrix ordered, mandibles clicking in distress. Their physical abilities must have limits. The drones activated their reinforced titanium alloy limbs, lashing out with electroshock batons and crushing pincers. But the humans seemed to anticipate every move, their bodies twisting and turning with inhuman agility to avoid the drones' attacks. One human, a lithe female with short, dark hair, engaged 3 drones in a whirlwind of motion. She ducked beneath their strikes, grabbed the limb of one drone, and used it to batter the others into submission. Laughing audibly over the combat channel, she then hurled the broken machine at a group of approaching drones, taking them down in a cascade of shattered crystal. Zyrix's skin shifted through a kaleidoscope of colors, betraying his mounting panic. This is not possible. Their strength, their speed, their sheer joy in combat. They're not just surviving, they're enjoying it. Admiral. Catil's voice was hushed with awe. The simulation parameters have been exceeded. All 5,000 drones have been neutralized in under 15 minutes. The command staff stared in stunned silence as the human squad gathered the destroyed drone parts, some even using them as improvised weapons. Their black armor was scuffed and scorched, but their movements remained fluid, their breath steady. Zyrix's mandibles opened and closed as he struggled to find the words. Summon the Galactic Council. Tell them the age of drone warfare is over. The age of the Deathworlders has begun. As the human squad leader, a woman named Commander Isabella Reyes, approached the observation station, Zyrix steeled himself for what he knew would be a profound and terrifying new reality. The galaxy would never be the same. Evolution's champions. Chief Science Officer Nexus paced back and forth in the Central Research Laboratory, her 8 spider-like legs clicking against the polished floor. Around her, a team of the Galactic Confederation's finest xenobiologists and combat analysts worked frantically to understand what they had witnessed on Moonbase Alpha. Play the impact analysis again, Nexus ordered, her compound eyes fixed on the main display. I need to see the Force data one more time. The holographic replay showed a human female, later identified as Lieutenant Maria Rodriguez, sprinting at full speed into a wall of combat drones. The resulting collision should have crushed every bone in her body, but instead, the drones were sent flying like toys while the human continued fighting without even a pause. These readings cannot be accurate, declared Senior Researcher Bloom, his bioluminescent tendrils pulsing with agitation. According to our scans, her bone density is comparable to reinforced titanium composites. Her muscle fiber structure is more efficient than our most advanced synthetic combat systems. Nexus gestured to another screen, displaying endurance data from the full 15-minute demonstration. And look at their stamina levels. None of the human subjects showed significant fatigue. Their bodies were actively repairing micro-damages as they fought. The laboratory's main door slid open with a hiss, and Admiral Zyrix entered, accompanied by a rather nervous-looking medical officer. The Admiral's skin had settled into a permanent shade of worried gray over the past few days. Please tell me you have found some weakness, Some biological limitation we can understand, Zurich pleaded. Anything that can give us an advantage against these Deathworlders. Nexus activated a holographic display, showcasing a detailed human skeletal structure. On the contrary, Admiral, what we have found is quite the opposite. A medical officer stepped forward, his tentacles twitching with unease. These humans, they are not just surviving the conditions of their death world. Their bodies have evolved to thrive in them. Their joints allow for movement in multiple directions while maintaining structural integrity. Their muscles can exert forces that would tear our bodies apart. Surely their endurance must be limited, Zurich insisted. There must be some weakness we can exploit. Bloom let out a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. That's what we thought too. Then we monitored them for extended periods during the demonstration. Their stamina is unnatural. Their bodies are constantly adapting, repairing damage, and replenishing energy reserves. We've never seen anything like it. Nexus turned to face the Admiral, her spider-like legs shifting in a gesture of grave concern. You must understand, High Admiral. These humans, they are not just superior warriors. They are the champions of their own brutal evolution. Survivors of a world that should have killed them 1,000 times over. Compared to us, they are the pinnacle of biological perfection. Zurich's mandibles clicked rapidly as he processed this information. Then how are we supposed to fight them? How are we supposed to defend the Galactic Confederation? New dawn. The bridge of the United Earth ship Intrepid hummed with activity as Commander Isabella Reyes reviewed the latest communique from the Galactic Confederation. After their stunning demonstration on Moonbase Alpha, the Council had extended an invitation for further cooperation and integration of human military forces. Well, this is certainly a change of tune, Reyes mused, her fingers tapping thoughtfully on the holographic interface. I have to admit, I didn't expect them to come around this quickly. Lieutenant Maria Rodriguez, her second in command, stepped up beside her. Do you think we can trust them, Commander? The reports from our xenobiologists indicate the Confederation is still deeply wary of our kind. Reyes smiled and placed a reassuring hand on Rodriguez's shoulder. They're scared, Maria. Scared of what we represent. The realization that their technological superiority isn't enough to guarantee victory. But they're also curious, and that curiosity may be the key to bridging the gap. A chime from the communications console interrupted their discussion. Commander, we're receiving an urgent distress call from Frontier Colony Theta. It's under attack by a large contingent of rogue drone forces. Reyes straightened, her expression turning serious. Coordinates. Relaying now, the communications officer replied. ETA to the colony is 37 minutes at maximum warp. Helm, set a course. Contact the Galactic Confederation and request immediate support. Reyes turned to Rodriguez, her eyes steely with determination. This is our chance to show them what humanity can truly offer. Prep the expeditionary force and have them standing by. Rodriguez nodded, a grim smile spreading across her face. Time to show these aliens what Deathworlders can do. The skies over Frontier Colony Theta were ablaze with energy weapons fire as the Intrepid burst through the quantum portal, its sleek hull gleaming in the flickering light. Moments later, a squadron of Confederation warships emerged, their crystalline hulls shimmering with protective shields. Drone forces closing in fast, the Intrepid sensor officer reported. They're ignoring the Confederation ships and focusing their attacks on the colony's defensive emplacements. Reyes narrowed her eyes, her mind racing. Deploy the expeditionary force immediately. Have them secure the colony's perimeter. Helm, coordinate with the Confederation fleet to provide air support and cover fire. As the human troops streamed from the Intrepid's launch bays, Reyes watched intently. This was the moment of truth. A chance to prove that the Galactic Confederation's reliance on drone warfare was no longer enough, that the skills and adaptability of the Deathworlders were vital to the defense of the known galaxy. The expeditionary force moved with a fluid grace that belied their heavy combat gear, their black armored forms blurring as they engaged the attacking drones. Plasma bolts and energy beams ricocheted off their reinforced suits, and their retaliatory strikes shattered crystalline carapaces with devastating efficiency. Alongside the human ground forces, the Confederation fleet unleashed a withering barrage of long-range firepower, their quantum-charged weapons carving through the drone formations. But even as the mechanical invaders were driven back, Reyes could see the alien commanders struggling to coordinate their forces effectively. "They're still relying too heavily on their automated systems," Reyes muttered, her fingers flying across the Intrepid's tactical console. "Time to show them how we do things on Earth." Reyes opened a channel to the Confederation flagship, her voice clear and commanding. "High Admiral Zerix, request permission to coordinate a joint ground-air assault. Our forces can provide the necessary adaptability and response time to break this drone offensive." There was a moment of hesitation, and then Zerix's voice, tinged with a hint of reluctant respect, replied, "Permission granted, Commander Reyes. The Galactic Confederation is in your debt." As the human and alien forces launched their combined counterattack, Reyes allowed herself a small smile. The Deathworlders had come a long way from that first fateful encounter, and now they stood shoulder to shoulder with their former adversaries, forging a new path forward for the galaxy. This was just the beginning of a partnership that would redefine the very nature of warfare, and Reyes knew that the age of the Deathworlders had only just begun.